Hey folks, Dr. Bob McCauley. The two things that I say that get reactions of absolute outrage when I say them. Coming up. I make a lot of statements that you're not going to hear from the average person, such as your body is capable of healing itself of any disease, which of course is true. And you know that most people, they kind of go along with that, and they say, yeah, I think your body can heal itself of any disease. You know, some people don't think that, but most people, yeah, I think that's not such a big problem for them when they hear me say it. But there are two things that I say that people just, you know, freak out. It triggers them, whatever term you want to use. The first one is that you will find virtually no evidence of chronic disease in the wild. It's really hard to find. It's almost like no evidence whatsoever. Now, what do we mean by chronic disease? Well, that's cancer, arthritis, high blood pressure, fibromyalgia. Nobody goes out and shoots a deer in the wild, in the true wild, or a rabbit, or traps any other animal and finds disease in it. Chronic disease. Ever. You got to search and look and oh, finally we found one animal that maybe had cancer. They can get into a contaminated area. They could get into a polluted area, a deer or some other, and they could get a cancer from eating from drinking from the water or eating some food that was, you know, radioactive or something like that. Sure, that's possible. But again, just the average animal out in the middle of nowhere, they don't get chronic disease. We are the only species on Earth that gets chronic disease of any kind other than the animals we domesticate, and we start putting them on puppy chow and cat chow and, you know, all the other things that we give to animals, and then they end up with all the diseases we have. Infectious diseases, yeah, absolutely. Those are out there in the wild. You know, rabies is a good example. Precocious is another one. So those are caused by viruses, bacteria, yeast, mold, or fungus. Animals get those. You know, trees get those. Plants get those. They get these viruses and they get bacteria. So that's coming from without. But chronic disease only comes from, well, it's just exclusive to humans. And it really comes from our diet. And that's why animals never, in the wild, that are out there eating just wild things, never get sick until, you know, we capture them or whatever, or we domesticate them. And then we put them on a processed grain diet of some sort. And then they end up with all these problems. You know, years ago, there was the elk down in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and we're all getting cancer. So there's evidence of wild animals. Well, they're not wild animals. I mean, they get these elk to come in, and they feed them this processed grain, right? And that's so the tourists can see them and go, oh, look at these magnificent animals, these elk. But they're eating, you know, processed food. And I would expect them to get cancer, and they're all getting cancer. So chronic disease, not found in the wild. And please don't write me with like, oh, I've got this. This is a cancer. It's a tumor. It's a cancerous tumor. Those are caused by viruses. So once again, that's an infectious disease that leads to a cancerous tumor. That's not cancer, and that's not a chronic disease like the time we're talking about here. The other thing that I say that really just stops people in their track, and they think I'm crazy, and they just start shaking their heads and like, who do you think you are? You're immune to this. You know, we're all getting older. What are you talking about? And that statement is, I am not going to die of a disease.
You don't know what you're talking about, do you?
Period. I'm not immortal. And I know I'm going to die, and I know God put me here into this life for whatever reason. He did. He knows what's going on, and He's going to take me when He's ready. But I'm not leaving by disease. No, I'm going to be murdered. I'm going to be assassinated. I'm going to die in an accident. I'm not going to commit suicide, I can assure you that. But when I say that to people, I'm essentially impervious to disease because of the diet that I live on, because of my lifestyle, because I live according to my 7-component health protocol. No, I'm not Superman. I'm not somebody special. I'm not a space alien impervious to chronic disease or even infectious disease of any kind. I'm not. I just know I am not going to die of a disease because I know I know that the body is capable of curing itself of any disease. And I know it's easier to prevent a disease, a 1,000 times easier to prevent a disease than it is to cure the body of one. So I know I'm not going to die of this, but people hear this and they really stop in their tracks. And this is the thing that they just will not accept. Especially people getting like I'm 60. And I just let you know, my blood work, which I tested about 6-7 months ago, perfect, okay? Just perfect. I still run a 6-minute mile. I like to tell people that. It's not because I'm great. It's just because, look, I'm doing it at my age. I don't have any joint issues. I don't have any problems, really, just 100%. And I'm doing great. Bone density's high. And when I say this to people, that I'm not going to get sick, they just can't believe it, and especially, as I said, older people, they think, well, you're some kind of a special person. You're susceptible to we're all going to die of something. No, we're not all going to die. When you live on your typical diet of cooked foods, you're going to die in an accident, you have a murder, assassination, or disease. But when you live on my diet and you drink alkaline ionized water every day of your life, you live you use spirulina and chlorella for your protein. You live on a raw food diet. You make sure you have probiotics, prebiotics. You have liquid angstrom minerals in your diet, so you're completely mineralized. You exercise every single day, and you have a positive mental attitude. There's no stopping you, and that I can assure you. That I can assure you. So, like I say all the time, folks, if you're sick, it's because you allow yourself to remain sick. And the mentality that we're all going to get sick and die. Okay, or she died of old age. Old age? I mean, old age. What is old age? A disease? Something killed this person. It was organ failure. Something gave out, and it wasn't because we were just designed to like any other kind of machine to just kind of run down and that's the end of it, and we just we have really been given the ability to really rejuvenate ourselves at a cellular level on an ongoing basis if we put the right things in the body and stop putting the wrong things into the body. And that's what my whole health protocol is about. So those are the two things that really get a reaction from people, let me tell you. There is no chronic disease found in nature, and I'm not going to die of a disease. People go nuts. When I explain it, sometimes, they come around. Usually not. I kind of like saying it just to see the reaction. Anyway, Dr. Bob, I'll see you next time. Well, there's my 2 cents. Don't forget to like and subscribe.